Hello and welcome to today's episode. Oh, hello. Yay, there's already people here. So, today is a very special day. We're going to look at this chart. This is for the eclipse, and I'm going to go back through all of the eclipses that we need to focus on for this particular moment. So starting off so I've got these charts on my phone. I didn't print them all, but they're all very important. So we're going to start off with November 4th, 2021. So this was the beginning of the eclipses on the Taurus Scorpio axis. So I want you to think back what was going on in your life around November 4th, 2021. That eclipse was a new moon in Scorpio at 12 degrees of Scorpio. So, what you'd want to do, two things. You first want to just think back to what was happening. Maybe check your emails, go through and see what was being traded information wise through your emails or your text messages from November 4th, 2021. Then you can also go back and look at your astrology chart and see where 12 degrees of Scorpio falls. What house is it in? And you'll look at whatever other planets are right around 12 degrees Scorpio. So that was really the initiation of this eclipse season. The eclipses on the Taurus Scorpio axis there's so many of them. So we had that one in November. Then we're going to have we had on April 30th that eclipse, that new moon in Taurus solar eclipse. The degree points are slipping my mind right now. If you're out there and you remember the degree points, just put that in the chat. And then now on the 15th, we'll look at that one now. And then we'll look at also the next two eclipses that we have in the fall on this same axis. All right, so for this, it's going to be, oh man, I cut off the time, so I can't really see what time it is. Today, I should have it right here. Okay, so it's at 9:14 p.m., 15th of May, 2022. The main thing to remember really is where is the sun and moon. So we can see, and that's happening at 25 degrees of Scorpio. That means the sun is at 25 degrees of Taurus. So this is creating that dynamic polarity between life and death. Life being Taurus, the death end being Scorpio. The polarity between pleasure and pain. The polarity between you get it, between Taurus and Scorpio. So whenever the moon is with the south node, this is always going to be a power outage. This is going to be recession, things being drawn away. I think of it like when you put something salty on a wound that like draws out the impurities, draws out the toxins. So we are definitely getting that pullback of energy. Now, if you think back to the previous November 4th, we had a completely different energy, and this was initiating us in a way to understand more of what's coming for this eclipse season. So at that point, it was near the south node. So the south node, again, being a pullback of energy. That was in November. So there were things leaving. Think back, what was leaving in your life in November? Okay, so let's go into, there's so much in this chart that it's not just an eclipse. Like the eclipse is the main event, but there's also Venus making a conjunction with Chiron. Venus having to do with pleasure, beauty, often it's women, often it's women's issues, things that are specifically related to femininity, and also all of those other Venus Venus things, relationship, pleasure, our intimacy with the earth, intimacy with each other, sensuality, the information that we receive with our senses. It's what we value, how we draw those values into our lives. Now, Venus meeting up with Chiron at the time of the eclipse. Venus is actually going to be exact with Chiron a little bit before the eclipse, but still exact at the time of the eclipse. So this is really bringing up feminine specific vulnerabilities. That's Chiron. Also that wound that we cannot heal. So it's something specific to feminine topics and to women, but not limited to women, but it's focused on those Venusian aspects of our reality, something that we all value. And then, of course, we don't all value the same things. But then Chiron there brings this element to Venus, or, they're coming together. It's not like Chiron's bringing it to Venus. More so, Venus moves into the same degree as Chiron, which is going to highlight our insurmountable wounds, things that may never heal regarding our fertility, our ability to procreate, to, there's so many issues coming up, and they're in the news right now also. This is really, really going to reach a peak at the time of the eclipse during this. Actually, that Venus meeting up to Chiron happens on Saturday. The eclipse is on Sunday. So it's building up. The other feature of this eclipse is that Mars is making a conjunction with Neptune. Now, this happened, the last time it happened was in June of 2020. So you could think back what was going on in your life, June 2020. This was, I think, the second round of lockdowns. So Mars is our ability to assert our will, to, I like to say, penetrate reality with our individual will. So Mars is our desire to take action, to passionately move our life force energy toward things that we want to get. So Venus is what we want, what we value. Mars is how we go out and get those things. Venus doesn't necessarily go out and get the thing. Venus is just a beautiful, brilliant diamond that is drawing energy to it. Mars is the part of you that goes out and gets the thing. So Mars and Neptune. Mars is also known as the planet of war. The symbology of Mars comes from a combination of Eris, the god of war, and Eros, the god of desire. So those two archetypes together create Mars. So there's that double aspect. So as the god of war meeting Neptune, this could have something to do with biological warfare. That is a feasible interpretation of Mars meeting Neptune. And another more common interpretation of Mars meeting Neptune would be that we feel sort of lost and confused, sort of floating around, swimming around, and not sure which way is up and which way is down. There's a sort of a confusion. Like if you want to go out there and do your Mars penetrating reality with your will, but you don't exactly know what you want to go get, what you're trying to do. Venus is over here working with the immortal wounds, or mortal wounds, not immortal, with mortal wounds, maybe not able to give you much clarity on what it is that you actually want. So there is this sort of lazy, I guess the word is malaise, where you just sort of you're not sure. There's a lot of uncertainty with Mars making that conjunction with Neptune. So the actual conjunction between Mars and Neptune happens on Monday. The eclipse is on Sunday. I think that was 9:14 p.m. on Sunday night. But still, it's close enough. At the time of the eclipse, that energy will be active. What else do we have on this chart? So those two, between Mars and Venus, because Mars and Venus are inner planets, they deal directly with this top layer of our personality. Venus being what we attract, and then what we value, what we want. Mars being the way we go out and get the thing. These two are making conjunctions with big planetary forces. So that will impact us. We will be noticing that. Collectively, we'll probably be seeing something happening on the news relating to feminine issues and relating to warrior-like Mars assertive energy. Maybe the assertive energy also having some of that delusion because of Neptune, having something to do with biological warfare because Mars and Neptune together, and also having something to do with a general sense of uncertainty. Now, the next thing, this is probably the most important thing. Aside from the eclipse, the eclipse, the sun and moon both are making 90-degree challenging aspects to Saturn. We will see this again. We will see this again in the eclipse of November of 2020. Let me just have a peek. November 8th of 2022. That eclipse is going to also be making square aspects to Saturn. Exact, actually. So whatever comes up during this eclipse, between the sun and moon, having that 90-degree angle with Saturn, that material, whatever comes up for you, how you work it, while how you work it is important, the issue will show up again in November. Hopefully another version of it, a more mature, evolved version of it. Maybe not. No pressure. There's not like a way to do it right or a way to do it wrong, just that you are doing it. And with Saturn, it's saying that there is something that you need to do. Get your hands in it, get your hands on it, and work the issue. Now, what is the issue? This is where we're going to look at the moon. You need to look on your chart where 22, 25, around that area, and I would even stretch it out between 20 to 28 degrees of Scorpio, 20 to 28 degrees of Taurus. That is still the general area because that eclipse that we experienced in November of 2022, November 4th, 2022, that was at 27 degrees of Taurus. I believe the Pleiades are at 26. So it's right, that star cluster is really coming up in awareness right now because of all these eclipses are going right over that area of our sky, that area of our awareness. So whatever things that you've researched about the Pleiades or that you're fascinated by, like, I recommend getting really into that information. The way that our ancestors related with that beautiful star cluster it's written through all the texts. Like every ancient culture had a storyline that went along with that. The Seven Sisters is what I've known it to be called as. And I'm sure that there's lots of other names. So we're focusing in on that area of your chart to find out what is the issue that's being worked. Because now it's going to have some deep emotional pull. Deep emotional pull because the South Node is there. Something that my friend Megan mentioned, I talked to Megan yesterday, and she was like, hey, let's not overlook the fact that because it is Scorpio and the South Node, this is also some of our magic. Scorpio does have to do with magic. What do you think magic is? Like, how do you relate with magic? So she did mention that, and I was like, oh, yeah. So, what are some of the gifts that are heavy? There are things that you may not be comfortable with, things you were scolded for as a child. Depending on what house Scorpio is in for you, that will give you more of an idea of what those topics might be. But with the South Node and the Moon together there, between 22 and 25 of Scorpio, there could be something repressed that is resurfacing to be reintegrated as a gift in your life. And what you're going to hear more in the interpretations of this eclipse is that there are things in your body, in your life, in your house, in your attic, in your car, at your office, that you need to, this action that is happening with the eclipse, which is a pullback. It's a removal, a big removal of energy. Okay, so Earth Guardian Academy says 4th house Scorpio. Okay, let me come back to that. I'm going to give little brief interpretations of what could be coming up based off of your houses, and then Jen, also let me know if you have any planets right between, say, 20 and 28 degrees of Scorpio or Taurus. Uranus is there too at 12 degrees. Okay, so that's interesting because Uranus is a major theme for this eclipse season. One of these eclipses, this one. So November 8, 2022. I'm bringing in this eclipse chart because this date is also at a square with Saturn, just like the eclipse that we're having now. 6 months later, that full moon eclipse is also going to have Uranus exact with the moon. I wonder if you guys could see this. Oh, no, you really can't. So Uranus is as a player for this because of the fact that it is really close to the North Node this year during the eclipses. Okay, so something sweeping away. There's things that are being removed. And also because it's in the sign of Scorpio, it's things that we have clung tightly to. Scorpio is a part of us that feels deep emotional attachments to our religion, to our money, our inheritance, our families, to our relationships. There's like deep emotional attachment to things that we tend to emotionally cling to. So those things, it's like you can think about it right now. What is it that I have been putting off doing, talking about, working with, clearing out? What it could be closets, and then again, depending on your chart. So let's use this one, 4th house Scorpio, definitely your house. What have I been putting off in my house? Do I have leaky faucets? Am I getting floods in my faucets? My closets, like have I went through my closet? Do I still have things from that old relationship? Do I still have my mother's things in the 4th house with the 4th house Scorpio? What of my mother's do I still have in my house or in my physical body? Belief systems that we're holding, because the 4th house is what is lowest in the sky at the moment we're born. It's what's hidden, what we do not see, and it's also the womb that you come from and all the wombs that you come from. I still live with my mother. Okay, well, that's all right. I wish my baby still lived with me, but I have a Cancer moon, so I'm very clingy. I got chills. I'm very clingy in that way. So Indiana Jones, just look at where Scorpio is on your chart. Jen, you're welcome, Jen. So really start to just do that clearing work now so that when we get to the eclipse on Sunday night, you've already started to tap that that bit of information. So this Scorpio eclipse at 20, we're saying between 20 and 28. That's my seventh house. So I'm going to go ahead and start like thinking what people I need to have like hard conversations about emotional attachments, resentments, issues dealing with money, with shared resources. I'm going to need to start going through those things now and saying the things I need to say, making the statements, making the comments, clearing out things like, do I still have scrapbooks from old relationships, or do I still hold ideas about what I think a relationship is supposed to be based off of something that has happened in the past? So that south node with the moon is asking us to clear out, make a space and move things, like literally get in there with your hands and move things. Okay, so anybody else, go ahead and drop it in the comments there if you have, if you want to talk about it or look at where this eclipse is happening for you. And just for the people who have mentioned, who've typed in so far, I'm also going to look at the fourth house. Oh, sorry. That was Jen here, Earth Guardian Academy. So fourth house Scorpio, that means 10th house in Taurus. That is your most likely your midheaven, your contribution to the world. So during this eclipse season, that is also being worked. It's also like looking at who are you in your community, what is the services that you're providing, how do you contribute your skill set as a career, your contribution to the world. And also it's how people see you, like how they, if you're walking through the farmers market in your community and they see you and they either know something about you or it's obvious by how you look, that that those issues are being worked too, so that you're able to fulfill more of your destiny in those 10th house, parts of your life. Now the north node is also there, which is giving you a big push progressively to do more of those 10th house things. Earth Guardian and Chiron at 9 degrees Taurus midheaven. Yeah, so your Chiron material is coming up during this eclipse season, and also your midheaven, your contribution to the world. So whatever happens during this removal, um, release, power outages, pulling back on things, whatever happens during this eclipse will directly inform where there will be a surge of energy later in your career. So I had mentioned that this is happening in my seventh house. So where I'm able to release attachments, emotional resentments, and all the things that are related with Scorpio, that there will be a surge in the first house. So more of a boost of energy into first house topics of identity, who I think I am, how I feel about myself, how I present myself in the world. So always look at the polarity. Nothing happens one-sided. It always is going to impact both sides of that pole. Indiana Jones, Scorpio in the fifth at really? You're Scorpio in the fifth. Oh, okay. At 25 degrees. I see what you're saying. Okay, so fifth house is going to be your inner child, your creative muse, like how you get out and play, the way you creatively express yourself. Fifth house also has a lot to do with flirtatious relationships, meaning that I think of the fifth house as like how when we get dressed to go out and go do something, that we're like picking clothes based on our mood and how, like, oh, I want to play. So I'm going to wear shorts under my dress so I can flip and play around and, be more exuberant or whatever. So we pick our clothing based on how we want to creatively express ourselves out in the world. If you're going on a date, you dress a little bit different depending on what you're thinking about the outcomes of this date. Am I looking to create a long lasting relationship? Do I want to go more conservative? Is this going to be a one night fling? I know it's just for fun, or whatever you're doing. That fifth house has a lot to do with the way you get out on the stage of your life. So, having this eclipse in the fifth house is removing, pulling back, it's detoxifying. That's an interesting word to bring into all of the interpretations that we've looked at so far. So in my seventh house, how can I be detoxifying? We all have a slight amount of toxins in our life, and especially in the Scorpio areas of our chart, because Scorpio is the most repressed. It's hidden. We don't talk about Scorpio. We're not supposed to talk about religion, drug, sex, death, orgasms, and everything that's like a very intense energetic. We're not supposed to talk about investments and how much money we have, and we're not supposed to talk about those things, and so they tend to become fermented like fruit left in the basement. That reminds me, I left a pineapple in the garage section of my van, and I need to go get that. And that is a perfect analogy. It's something that you've taken and put it away. Why did I put it away? Because it wasn't ripe and I didn't want to have it out there attracting flies on the counter. So I put it in the garage section of the van, in which it's probably fermenting now and collecting things. And that's what happens with our emotional material. We hide it, it ferments, it becomes alcohol, it becomes toxic, it stinks, it rots. And then we don't want to bring it out because you don't want to mess with a slimy, messy mess. So you just leave it there, hoping that eventually it will disintegrate or something. But you do have to go clean that mess at some point. So that's what this lunar eclipse is like. Scorpio in the fifth house. Okay, so also with that fifth house, Scorpio, as things are being detoxified and there's a power outage, you also want to look at your 11th house, which has to do with your goals, dreams, and aspirations, and the communities that you are associated with that have like-minded goals, dreams, and aspirations. So that 11th house, people will often call it your friend group, but to me, it's not just your friends. It's more like those people who are like-minded, who share a common goal with you. So this will also be impacting that 11th house. And by virtue of the power going back and forth, right now it's a power outage in the 5th, and in the future eclipses in the November and, oh my goodness, I think it was October, there will be a surge of energy in that 11th house. So whatever you're doing now is going to eventually be helpful in your goals, dreams, and aspirations. And it's not like you're doing something, because with the lunar eclipse, we're likely going to feel like shit. I'm just imagining, because there's not much on this chart that's like, ooh, that'll be fun. It's all like challenging stuff. And, then you bring in the fact that Saturn is making a 90-degree angle to both of those, sun and the moon. As we're doing this detoxification work, releasing things, your secrets will be brought up to the surface, and then Saturn puts you on court. To me, this Saturn principle being at that 90-degree angle says that as you're going through this detoxification process of your secrets, of things that you've had hidden, awkward conversations that you haven't had about your money and your religion and your beliefs and all of these things related to Scorpio. Now also, you're getting called out to make it right, to contract yourself into that 90-degree angle with Saturn, that principle of contraction. There's contractual agreements. If you're in a marriage or in some relationship that's under contract, this Saturn aspect could really put you in, I'm saying put you on court, but when I was in the military, we would have a round table with the chiefs, and you would have to sit there at a circle of all the chiefs while they're kind of, you're on court, meaning that they're all asking, they're like questioning you and they're checking you. You're going to get checked at this eclipse. So not only is it this tender time of like going through your emotional stuff, all these attachments and repressed energy and all of this like very tender things. Now also there's like a circle of Navy chiefs looking at you, asking you to explain yourself, to get right with the middle world reality. Have you paid your have you paid your bills? Are you behind on your child support? Have you ever paid your child support? What debts do you owe to whoever you may owe them to? And it may not be just monetary debts. It could be you owe this person an explanation, or you owe this person whatever you may owe them. That's that Saturn principle at the 90-degree angle to both the sun and the moon at the eclipse. Okay, Justin says, always talk about death. It's the last great adventure. Okay, good luck with that. With me and with, yes, definitely. I agree with you 100%. Just yesterday, I was sitting with a woman who is nearing the end of her life. And I was telling her that my kids want to have my skull. This is like a regular conversation in my house. They're like, let's see if we can get your skull and like use it on our altar, or maybe we can get some of your bones and like keep them in a bag, or, you know, they want to do stuff like this with my body. And the lady was like, oh, that's awful. And I was like, oh my God, no, it's awesome, because we've been having these conversations since they were able to talk. They've been interested in where do we go when we go to sleep. That's also some 8th house and 12th house material. Where do we go when we die? How will I know you in the spirit realm? What will you bring me a smell? Will you help me with my garden? Or, you know, how will I know you? So definitely I enjoy talking about life and death, and that whole Taurus Scorpio axis is very fond. I'm very fond of that. So Jupe says, my platoon did this too. We circled with our hires and told them how they were as leaders. Wow, accountability. You're checking your accounts. Okay, so wow, that is next level. And who my son was talking to me about this yesterday. He's just got his first real job. And he's telling me that in this job, they have, instead of a top-down approach, that they go from the bottom, meaning who are you serving? And then the people who are doing the serving, and then it's the manager, and then it's the CEO, that they take care of the people who are being served and the people who are serving them, which is the customer, and then my son, who's in that service role of like cleaning the hotel rooms and helping guests check in and all of this. So that's not usual in our culture. So I really like what Justin is saying here about also checking the leaders. Who does that? And it should be more normal, but usually it is the leaders checking the service people, or the leaders checking the junior sailors, or whatever that is. Okay, so I see some more people have popped in. So go ahead and let me know where between 20 to 28 degrees of Scorpio is on your chart. So we can just kind of get a quick idea, like what topics are coming up for you during eclipse season. And then also what we've been doing is taking this into a broader perspective, looking at the eclipse that happened on November 4th, 2021. And then and that was at 27 degrees of Taurus, going all the way through um, the 30th, the solar eclipse that just happened. Like, let me know what happened for you guys. I did a video on this last week, so I'm not going to tell my solar eclipse story, but it was really something. It was really intense. And then that was with the North Node. So that last week, or last 2 weeks ago now, it was a power surge, like a surge of energy in an area of your chart. So for Jen, for instance, that would have been in her 10th house. So I wonder, like, what was happening for you related to your career, your contribution to the world, what your destiny is as far as your how you're in service to humanity. And then with Indiana Jones, that would have been that solar eclipse that happened a couple weeks ago, new moon in Taurus, would have been in your 11th house. And the North Node is there, which would have been giving you a power surge in your friends group. And it doesn't necessarily mean something good happened, like something that felt good. Just because it was a surge of energy, it just means that there was a lot going on. It was fast moving, like bam, 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 like issue, 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 just happening one after the other, just like whew, a surge of energy. So I spent 2 more videos talking about how to work with those emotions that come up when we're being triggered during this eclipse season, working with our emotional attachments and things that we've been repressing. That's going to be really, really crucial all week long, especially Sunday. Okay, anybody else want to let me know? I'm just going to put a little heart in here. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning into this. So also, let me let you know, I do have a whole beautiful slideshow. The slideshow goes through the whole year. And you can find that, I'll put a link in here to, it's called the Central Channel. And basically what it is, we also get on there and do Zooms together, and I can look at your chart actually on a shared screen. So you can find that information. I'll put it down here in the link below this video. Thank you all so much for joining. And if there's nothing else, I will look forward to connecting with you again very soon.